Welcome everybody to week number 2, validating market problems and customer acquisitions. So before we get started, as always, we gotta shout out some people. We got our Tech Accelerator funders, the EDA. Shout out to them for always supporting entrepreneurs and continuing their great work. And then we have our venture fund partner, Portland Seed Fund. Again, throughout this program, we want to be able to share some entrepreneurs with them. So make sure you do all the qualifying things to graduate. And then if you are the lucky entrepreneur, is going to be a few of them. Hopefully it could be everyone. We will recommend you to Portland Seed Fund, where they have about 3 million allocated to support entrepreneurs. So some of that 3 million can go to you. Next, we have our silver sponsor by Rational Unicorn Legal Services. And we have Lindy, one of the managing attorneys with Rational Unicorn. She's you may know her because she's one of the cohort facilitators. But we're going to give her a few minutes to talk about Rational Unicorn Legal Services and some of the things they provide, and just some things that they can do to help you. So, Lindy?
Yeah, thanks, Devon. Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Lindy Lawrence. I'm a Washington attorney. I am the managing attorney of Rational Unicorn Legal Services. And I think anytime you see a law firm with a name like Rational Unicorn, I think that signals right from the start that we are really trying to be different from the other law firms out there. I think we're probably the only attorneys in the world that have managed to not become cynical. We still maintain a little bit of magic and wonder in our practice. And so um, I'm thrilled for the opportunity to introduce you to the firm. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Rational Unicorn is a community-based business law firm. We provide business, tax, and intellectual property law nationwide. We have a team of attorneys and patent agents in Washington, Oregon, and California. So we have a really strong distributed team. We're fully remote. We're a virtual law firm. We offer 30-minute consultations to all of our new relationships. And we do that because we really want to make sure that we're the right firm for you, that we're a good fit. We lead with values first and want to make sure that we're really able to serve your legal needs. So we like to have a free consultation and make sure that relationship is off on the right foot right from the start. All of our consultations are followed by a project quote. The whole idea there is that we want to give you everything you need to feel confident about moving forward with the firm. So we offer transparent flat fee pricing, so you know from the start exactly how much your legal services are going to cost. And we provide you with a full scope of work, so you go into it knowing exactly what's coming out of it. So we're really thrilled to be partnering with Rain on this. I'm thrilled to be working with all of you. If you have any questions or want to reach out to me, I'm going to put some links in the chat. That's the link to the website and also my email. Thanks again for having us here. We're excited to be part of it. Thanks, Devon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lindy, for that. And I work with Rational Unicorn in the past. Michael, he's a good friend. Lindy is going to be my good friend. And this is just some services that we have. So thank you for being a silver sponsor. And let's keep going with the show. All right. So, uh-oh. All right. So just some virtual etiquette. All right. Like take a minute to read this, please. Long story short, let's be respectful of others. Let's let's stay muted while we're in our session. Raise your hand if you want to, or just utilize the chat. My best advice would be utilize the chat. We have so many of our awesome cohort facilitators monitoring the chat. So just, have some virtual etiquette. All right. All main sessions will be recorded, not the breakout room. So remember from the first week, we are recording right now. So have a big smile because we're going to play it back and, we can see everybody. But yes, the breakout rooms will not be recorded. Okay, we talked about this earlier. So the weekly notes and takeaways will be in our shared resource Google Drive. Caroline, Jonathan, and some of our cohort facilitators shared it in the chat. We can share that again, but please, please, please save this link because this link is going to give you all of our videos, our weekly notes, our homework assignments, and the actual decks that our speakers are going to be sharing. So this is an important link to save and share, and this is where all the magic is going to be stored. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We did the sponsor spotlight. We did the recap. We're going to have Qiana speak today, and we're going to break out into our sessions, break out to our cohort breakout, and then we're going to do a brief report out and talk about what's next. So a quick agenda for today. I want to get into it. Here's our 10 weeks 10-week schedule just for those, because a lot of people ask me via email what our 10 weeks look like, but here it is. Take a quick screenshot if you want to, but this is what our 10 weeks look like, and here are all our speakers. 3, 2, 1 on that screenshot. All right. So today we have Qiana Paterson with QP Advisors. We're going to have Caroline do a quick bio introduction and introduce Qiana. Caroline, take it away, please.
Yes, thank you, Devon, and good morning again, everybody. Qiana, welcome. We're so excited to have you. It's probably much warmer weather where you are. You're down in the LA area, aren't you?
I am.
Yes, it's kind of, Pacific Northwest, a little cloudy up here, not too bad. So bringing us some sunshine today. So Qiana is an experienced tech operator and investor. She specializes in B2B, SaaS, in enterprise, fintech, health tech, AI, ML, and cloud. And she brings over 20 years of experience in the growth, operations, project, product management expertise in the tech industry. She's currently the managing partner at, and you're going to have to help me pronounce this, is it Naya?
Naya.
Naya, awesome. Leading operations and investments focused on early stage founders who are building true community power, shared wealth and well-being. She's got a lot of notable investments we talked with you guys about on last week. She might be talking about some of them today. And she's proudly a co-founding investment committee member of the Cap Table Coalition, which I'm fascinated by, and hopefully she'll tell us a little bit about that as well. And a mentor and advisor for organizations like Black Ambition, Techstars, Good Scout Capital, a middle market private equity fund. A Seattle native, she's a graduate of the University of Washington and alum of both UCLA and USC's Marshall School of Business. So thrilled to have you here today, Qiana. Take it away.
Thank you, Caroline. I am really excited to be here with all of you. As Caroline mentioned, I am a Seattle native, born and raised. So whenever someone talks about the clouds and rain in the Pacific Northwest, it makes me smile because that's completely normal to me. It's like we have seasons. In LA, the seasons are really essentially like spring and summer all year round, whereas places like Seattle and Portland and other places, we get a dreary seasonality. So really excited to be here with all of you. And, to be really, really honest, like once I moved away from Seattle outside of family, I really lost my connection into sort of the entrepreneurial and business ecosystem of Seattle. And so I'm really, really excited to be here with all of you. I'm going to share my screen, but before I share my screen, I just want to say a level set because I do these kinds of things really, really often. I'm going to say a lot. And one of the things that I like to tell people is I am not an expert in all things. I am one node of information. I'm one data point. That's all I am, just one data point. And you will have throughout this accelerator a lot of data points to hopefully help you determine, grow, whatever it is that you want to do. And the second thing that I like to tell founders really early on is that you belong here. You belong here. You deserve to be here. Your ideas have merit. They have validity, whatever it is. Don't let me or any other node or any other data point tell you otherwise. Now, you could be too early, you could be too late. There's a lot of things, but I just really want to put a pin in that you all belong here. Your ideas have merit and validity. And we hope, and I hope, I can say this for both Caroline and Devon, that through this accelerator, you just put a fine-tooth comb through everything that you're doing so that you'll be poised to really help scale and grow your business. And so really want to just put a plug in that. I'm just one node and you belong here, okay? I'm going to share my screen now. And let's see. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let me share. No. Well, I wanted to go into share mode and it doesn't look like it wants to do that. Oh, present. Here we go. Present. Good. Everyone can see it? Okay, so I spent about the first 10 years of my tech career was in the B2B enterprise SaaS space. And prior to that, I actually was a middle school teacher. I like to tell people that I was a middle school teacher because it's super, super important and it really like hones in like why I am the type of investor and why I was the type of operator in the tech space for a very long time. A teaching middle school is like having a badge of courage for the rest of your life. And spending 7 years in a middle school here in Los Angeles was one of the greatest and most rewarding careers that I've ever had. It puts a pin in it for me that I really want to like this to be a conversation between us and this to be something that is helpful in your journey. So in the 10 years that I was an operator in the tech space, I had the pleasure very early on of coming into a company that was already in existence. I was not the founder of the company. They had customers, they had traction, but the industry changed over time. And so that forced us to do a lot of different things over the years that I was there. But the one important thing that I think that is super important in a founder's journey early on is really understanding whether or not you have a market, whether or not you are going after a big enough problem. And that essentially what I told Devon early on is that do you have a product and have you built a product that one, your customers love and are willing to pay for? And those are the two most important things that I think that are really important. So you think you have market validation is really what we want to talk about. This is a funny meme. 9 out of 10 startups fail in the first year, right? And this is not, I'm not telling you this to like scare you or to prevent you from doing your business, but this is the reality. And there's reasons why this is the case, right? That a lot of businesses fail, like startups. They run out of cash. There's all kinds of reasons. They're too early. They haven't solved the right problem. Customers aren't willing to pay for it. There's all kinds of reasons, but there's ways to avoid those sort of pitfalls that a lot of startups find themselves in. The idea around market validation, if you've never talked through this, is a really a process for indicating whether or not you have a demand for your product. Remember, I said, have you built a problem that your customers love and are willing to pay for? Those are the two things. Do they see that problem as something? Now I've got balloons. Do they see that as a problem big enough worth solving? And so have you figured out the demand of your product or the service that customers, your potential customers are looking for? They're looking for essentially a way in which to solve that and refining, and enhancing the demand for what you're doing is super important. So really the market validation is a process. You've got to figure out really early on and quickly and cheap enough to figure out, should you build this big behemoth, massive thing? And so what you need to know is, do people need my product, right? And you can take a screenshot, but I think Caroline said you guys will have this. Is there enough real and sustainable demand for my product? How large is the market? Who is my ideal customer persona? How much are people willing to pay for my product? And are there ways to improve the product to deliver more value over time? So let's just pause there for a second. let's say, and I don't know all the businesses that all of you are starting or are developing right now, but the pain point that you have identified is really figuring out, like, is that just a pain point that I feel and that a small group of people have, or is it super, super big and super large? Do people need this thing? Or more importantly, is there a solution that already exists that is just good enough for people? Can it be better? Can we improve upon it? So all of those things are something that you need to know really early on in your journey. So I want to use this as an example, and I'll make sure that, and please pause me if there's questions. The case study, Drift. So Drift is a company around conversational marketing. What they realize is that in this consumer and internet space that we're all living in, that oftentimes people go to a website and they leave the website. They don't do anything. And so what they wanted to figure out is the solutions that were already existing for people who have built websites, and they want someone to do something, they want someone to purchase something, they want someone to check out, they want them to do something, they weren't doing it. And so what they needed to figure out is, like, could we solve that problem? So what they figured out early, and I'll go back to these questions. These are the questions that essentially through that process of validation, you have to be able to answer. So what Drift figured out early are these things, right? They figured out that the US marketers spend about $5.1 billion a year on digital advertising. That's a lot of money. So you can go, wow, that's a lot of money. As an investor, if you told me, hey, this market is 5.1 billion and people are spending this amount of money, I might go, wow, that is like really big. So in one particular year, marketers were spending $5.1 billion on digital advertising. Even though data point, even though that only about 2.3% of visitors who were going to that were converting. And that converting means that they were checking out, that they were buying something, that they were taking an action once they were on that website. But then they said, okay, so once I get to that website and I do something, I land on that website, what they figured out too was that 58% of companies don't follow up with the people who actually fill out a form. So how many of you all have gone to a website, filled out something, and then you never got anything, right? That happens more than 50% of the time. So then you go, okay, what's going on there? Then 81% of tech buyers didn't fill out the form when they encountered a gated content. So how many of you have gone to a website and you want to download something, you want to do something, but it asks you to do something first and you don't want to do it? A lot of people go, I don't want to give another website my email, because what is the value of this content behind this gated wall, right? So then you lose buyers because people go, well, I don't want to give you that information. I don't want to give you my cell phone number. I don't want to give you my email. I don't want to give you anything. I'm just going to leave. Now, then they figured out that 10x, this conversion rate, if responding to leads within 5 minutes. So then they've realized that if you go back to these people who did give you something, email, phone number, and you responded to them within 5 minutes, you had a 10x% times the rate of converting them, meaning they would come back and do something more for you, meaning buy something, take a meeting with you, etc. So what they did in all of these data points is they identified a massive problem at different levels. They told us how big the problem was. So if we go back here, right? Do they figure out, do people need this product? Yes, because $5 billion is spent annually and growing, right? A year on digital marketing and advertising, and yet only 2% actually convert. Well, that is a problem. It seems like people who are selling something actually need to solve for. Is there a real sustainable demand for the product? Well, yes, because that market is growing. We live in a consumer and a B2B space. People are continuing to buy. Someone's always selling you something, right? How large is the market? So you can break it down by consumer, enterprise. I don't have that data point here, but you can say, well, it's big enough for $5 billion to be spent on it annually. And if you segment it out, it probably is even bigger. Then you can understand who the ideal customer and persona is. It's marketers, right? People who are marketing a service, and specifically the marketing department or team at a particular company. That's their ideal. You want to sell to those people who are in charge of converting as much as possible. How much are people willing to pay for it, right? Well, we know people are spending a lot of money on advertising, and most of that money is going to trash. It is essentially going to trash because you're not converting and you're not getting people to buy your product or give you the information that you want to them to give you. And then you realize, okay, there are ways to improve upon what already exists. There are already like AI bots, there are already chat things. How many of you guys go to a website and there's a pop-up that pops up that says something like, hey, give me your, do you need help? And we just ignore that. And I like to tell people, I'm old enough in my tech and investment journey and career that 12, 15 years ago, everybody was slapping AI on their decks that I was looking at. And what we got out of all of that, like craze of AI 12 or so years ago, was really bad chatbots that most of us don't want to interact with. Why? Because it's really terrible. Right? You get something that can't answer your question, you interact with it, and it doesn't answer the question that you specifically have. So we understand that there is improvement that needs to happen because we have had a series of products aiming to try to solve this problem, and we know that we still haven't solved this problem. So what problems did they identify? Drift identified a lot of different problems, right? So they could take their product in many different ways, but they absolutely did identify a known problem and a problem that had already many people had attempted to actually solve for. So I'm going to pause there to make sure that there's no questions and people can come off of mute to ask a question about specifically this example for drift. Any? No
If you
question?
have any questions, you can raise your hand or you could drop it in the chat, and I'll read your question for you.
All right. I really want this to be interactive. So I don't want to just talk at you because, like, what's the beauty of that? Any
Yeah,
questions?
we have some information here on the market size and these other metrics. I'm just to provide some background here. What is the size of this study in terms of the respondents? So typically there's an axiom for early companies to have 100 interviews. How many interviews or questionnaires went out to construct this? Just out of curiosity.
To construct this, they talked to, I believe, over 100 people on this one. Yeah.
So that's a pretty standard number, 100. I guess my question, this was on another thread as well, as to, I guess you wouldn't really drill down on what you were looking for with other methods such as scraping, because this is definitely custom information, but maybe you'll get here in terms of market validation, and maybe I'll just couch this question for a later time, but so it's not on mind, the power of scraping and deep data analysis.
Yeah. We'll get to like how they came to some of these things specifically, but just an overview of the activities that you can take and the process or the things that you can do in order to get to the validation. How many people you should talk to, what is the research that you should be doing, how you can do that research, et cetera. Yes. Any other questions so far? Okay, so let's go to the how, since we're already there. So specifically for Drift or anyone else, like they needed to figure out, and we go back to the question, they need to figure out these types of questions needed to be answered. Do people need my product? Is there a real and sustainable demand? How big is the market? So you go, well, where do I figure out, how do I figure out the answers to those particular questions? And how did essentially Drift or any other company get to these data points that made them go, okay, we're on to something here. So the how, right, is lots of different things that you can do, and the important thing, should do. You don't just do one of these things. You should do as many of these things as possible to get as much data as quickly as possible for your problem that you're trying to solve for. So one, they're not in any particular order, but you can analyze Google keywords and trends. What are people searching for? Example, I love cheese. I'm a big fan of, and I think the best cheese on the earth is Tillamook cheese, right? So I could say, guys, I never need to buy any other cheese from any other company but Tillamook, right? I could literally say that. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other cheese companies out there. And guess what? That there will probably have another 100 new cheese companies this year starting up, right? So the reality is I could be searching for, people could be searching best cheddar, right? I think that Tillamook has the best cheddar. And so what are people talking about? When you search for the best cheddar cheese, what comes up? What are people searching for? Is Tillamook cheese, or is searching for cheddar cheese, specifically let's say the best cheddar cheese or vegan cheese or probiotic cheese or whatever, is it on the rise? Are more and more people looking for vegan cheese than they were a year ago or 6 months ago? So you really want to look at, what are people searching for? That's one piece of information. If you have a consumer product, right, that, or any other product that you're building, is what are people searching for? So the pros of this is low effort, but the con is that it's very broad insights. What people are searching for could mean very little to like what people are actually willing to pay for. So it's broad insights. But should you figure out what people are searching for? Absolutely, because it's low effort, but it's broad. The other thing is you can interview potential customers, do surveys, right? It's quick, cost efficient, and it's customizable. As one gentleman asked, how many people should take this survey? As many people as possible, right? As many people as you possibly can in a short period of time. You need to have people take a survey. You need to interview people. You need to have a conversation with people as much as possible. Get that information as quickly as possible. The bias, or the con of this, is bias could also show up. If I'm talking to you and you are asking me about cheese, then I'm going to clue in that you probably are trying to start a company for cheese. So I actually might tell you things that I might say. If you say, are you open to buying new types of cheese? Then I could assume that you're probably going to start a cheese company. And I'm just going to tell you, yes, I'm open to trying new cheese companies, right? Because I feel sorry for you, or because I admire what you're doing, or whatever. But that's my own bias propping in, because I'm thinking about you in that way. And it could lack depth. So again, get the surveys, talk to as many potential customers or people as possible as you possibly can. Recognize the con of this is that bias could show up in how people answer those questions, whether they're talking to you one-on-one, or whether or not they're just taking an anonymous survey. Bias can show up. The next thing, a landing page. So people oftentimes say, well, what is a landing page? A landing page essentially is a quick and dirty way to get a website up, right? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out, like, if people are searching for these things, I buy ads, I buy keywords, I buy ads or Facebook ads or whatever, and I get people to this website and they land on this landing page. That's not a full-on flush 10 pages or anything like that. It's like, get to a website and it says like pet insurance, like take care of your pets, right? In the best way possible at an affordable rate. And it asks for you to put your email in. So the landing page is like, well, did I get people to come to my website? Can I collect useful feedback? Can I ask them a few questions on the survey before they give me my email. So don't gatekeep the information that you might give them, or don't require them to give you their email in order to take the survey. So if people land on this website, will they answer your quick 3 questions and then give you their email, right? So that's a way for you to understand, once people are searching for these different things and they land on your website, can you get some information from them? That helps you in this journey. A lot of times people create landing pages essentially just to test the market, to see. And as an investor, you could tell me, like, I created a landing page over a 3-week period of time, right? And I put it up for 3 weeks and I got 1,000 unique visitors every day. And 10% of the people that visited that site gave me their email. That tells me something. That I would say, okay, that's really interesting. The
Qiana, oops, sorry to interrupt. Quick question. Can you talk about the difference between your regular website and a landing page? And should your landing page be accessible from your website, or do people only find it through ads?
So great question. You can have both, right? So people create a landing page, a many different landing page that can lead, yes, to your full-on website, if that's where you're at. Oftentimes when we're talking about a landing page in this scenario is you have yet to create your full-on website. You haven't, people build landing pages before they actually start the business, because they're really still trying to validate the idea and the problem that they're trying to solve for. But if you already have your website, your company is growing, but you're still trying to figure out some nuance to the business, you can create landing pages, several different landing pages, where what you're doing is testing a new tagline, you're testing different colors, you're testing a different question, you're moving a button. So people use landing pages at different intervals of their entrepreneurial journey. Some people create a landing page before a full-on website. You're using this maybe to collect surveys. You're using it to test whether or not people want your ideas. You want to give them a blog. You want to give them a free download. You're really just trying to test the market. Some people use landing pages. They have an existing website, but they're testing different colors, different taglines, different buttons, a different call to action. And then some people, yes, are using different a landing page for specifically what you said, Caroline, for the ads, right? That they're doing, and they're getting people very quickly so that they're not inundated with 10 pages or anything like that. So people use landing pages at different times, all the time.
There's 2 more questions. Did you want to take those now, Qiana?
Yeah, go ahead.
Stephanie, you want to go ahead and unmute?
Sure. I'm actually in the midst. I have an active web page, Qiana, and I was wondering about launching multiple landing pages at one time for different business segments, because I have creator economy, B2B, and B2C. And so I think it, obviously investors like to typically see okay, who are you honing in on first?
Yeah.
But in an election year, I think it's important because we have some POCs coming up for Wall Street Journal, New York Times. That's a very specific segment. And then we also have, creator economy and university students for, unbiased, decentralized news and a peer-to-peer network. 2 totally different messages. Have you seen it working, I guess, since you know a lot about landing pages, when there's multiple tests like that to specific business segments?
It sounds like you're testing something specifically, not to validate your idea, right? But you're actually running
Specific features.
Specific features, which I think is totally fine. That is totally fine. I think if you're talking to me specifically as an investor, I would want to know why you were doing that. Was it related to market validation, or is it specifically you're just running a different campaign for a different segment, which is totally fine. And I don't imagine that it would be exactly the same, although then that raises the question, who is your customer, right? And where is the biggest opportunity for growth?
To get signups and meetings, people use landing pages is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. And then Sunita, you had your hand up. Did you want to unmute?
Thank you. Yeah, Qiana, my question is, do we lose potential customers if we have not been very clear about it, because our ideas are changing, especially in the very startup stage where you're still figuring out the best fit solution for what you're trying to build. Should we wait until that is clear before we, drive people to the website and the landing page?
So remember the landing pages in this, if you're really super early, you're still testing things, right? So I wouldn't be fearful like, hey, I'm gonna lose 100 potential customers because I had this landing page and I figured out that like it's not a big enough problem for people to solve for. Well, you weren't going to build the problem, the solution for those people because you'd identified that it wasn't a big enough problem. So the landing page, remember, is to help you figure out what is your market, right? And I would say, yes, if people then fill out something, don't ignore them. You've got to get back to them right away so that you can either have them do a survey, you can keep them engaged, you can send them a newsletter, whatever it is, as you hone what it is that you're trying to pinpoint. But don't get caught up in like, well, am I going to lose people? If you're really super early, you haven't honed in on it just yet. So don't be fearful of testing a few things out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's take one more question, then we'll let you get back and then we'll hop in. Mickey, you want to unmute?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. As people are looking at your website, and I'm not sure if this is the best place, and you notice that they're spending a lot of time. I know you have very little time to get someone's attention. How does that figure into how you're analyzing your the value that you're bringing?
So I think, so if you have a full-on website, you're saying a full-on website and people aren't spending a lot of time on your website, or they are?
They're spending like 18 minutes on a page. They're either like bored or
yeah,
it's really
so did they
compelling,
I
right?
think the real question is, did you get something from them? So if they spend 18 minutes on your website, but you don't have their information, you don't actually know who they are, right? So the quicker you can get them to give you information, right? And then connect with you, because maybe they're spending 18 minutes on a page because they're confused, they don't know, they walked away, but you want to get in touch with that person. You want to start having a conversation with them as quickly as possible.
And sorry, let's just do one more. Qiana, I didn't see your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh, another Qiana. I love that.
I know, I was like, Qiana, I'm Qiana, but you're Qiana. So yeah. Yeah, I had a question. Where does social media marketing fall on this how of market validation, and what meaningful metrics do investors look for?
Yeah, so really great question. You can use, and that leads to this like ads, or like the social media. Do you put up an Instagram, a TikTok, all of those, again, follower counts, interaction, engagement can all be utilized to help you validate the market as well, right? So again, if you're really super early on, I wouldn't tell you to spend a ton of money on those things. You want to do as much as possible with as little money as possible, right? So Instagram, the one of these last two things, so ads, blogs, traffic, how do you engage your audience is something really important for your customer discovery and product discovery. But it can be expensive, and that's why I said lower the cost of that, right? And it can be time consuming because you're trying to get people to engage. And there's a lot of Instagram pages. There's a lot of people on TikTok. How do you get people to zero in on you will be pretty hard. So the really important thing here, and the thing to think about for all of this, is that you have to do a little bit of all of this to really understand your validation. I'm not going to say you have to do every single thing, but you want to do as much as possible. The last thing here is competitor analysis. If someone else has tried to do exactly what you're doing, you've got to understand who their customers are, what gaps, what unmet needs there are. That's what you're going to be able to do. The con of the competitive analysis is that it could be outdated. You could be missing a lot of information that you don't know because you're not a customer of that company. So again, the important thing is you've got to do a lot of these things as quickly as possible to figure out what the market is. So for someone specifically wanted to know about, well, what do investors want to hear? So here's an example of early sort of market validation. In this case, this person interviewed 200 brokers. They had 200 interviews. Okay, that tells me, okay, that's a pretty large, sample size. 90% of those 200 plus broker interviews admitted to having or agreeing to this pain point, right? 60% was prepared to pay more, right, for that thing. And then out of those interviews, 15 people became alpha or beta customers recruited. So those people right away said, if you build that thing, then I will be a customer of yours. So from an investor standpoint, and if you were early on, this is the kind of thing that I would want to see on your deck. Because again, if you haven't quite built or you're super early in building the product, then I need to know, especially if I'm investing at the pre-seed stage, maybe even before you have customers, like I need to know, is there a there, right? And then this person also included some interesting quotes and comments from potential those alpha customers that they recruited when they did that survey. So really super important to think about. The other example that I like to give is Airbnb. One of the things that they did early on is like, people aren't going to live and rent other people's homes, and people aren't going to rent out their rooms in their homes to other people. And so what they did was like, okay, like, let's look at like couch surfing exists and Craigslist, right? So what they did for us to figure out, like from an investor lens, like whether or not I had done couch surfing or gone on Craigslist and looked for temporary housing before, but they just said, listen, there's 17,000 current temporary housing listings right now on Craigslist. And there wouldn't be 17,000 temporary housing lists on Craigslist at this point in time. This was in 2000 something, right? If there wasn't a market for it. And then they were like, there's 670,000 users on couch surfing. So that told investors, early investors, wow, there's something here. Again, this slide specifically is talking more to the size, right, of a market, particularly. Like, okay, there's 17,000 listings, and then there is, 670,000 users on couch surfing. So again, really sizing up this market to see, is there a demand for people staying in other people's homes? Cool, right? So that's an important thing. This is actually a real slide from Airbnb's early pre-seed deck. This thing is not showing up. Let's see. Nope, it's broken. So the couple of last things I want to talk about is there's a framework, right, for doing this. So you've got all those questions that you need to answer. There's all kinds of sort of things that you can do to answer those questions. There's competing sort of ideas around the framework, but this is a good one to think about. Define the problem, identify your target customers, who are the current competitors, right? Set goals for your validation. What are you trying to do? So someone asks, like, how many people should I talk to? Well, you need to talk, you can say, I need to talk to a minimum of 100 people. You need to survey a number. So you need to like set measurable goals for yourself as you're taking yourself through this validation sort of exercise. You got to develop a hypothesis. What are you trying to validate or invalidate, right? And then get that feedback, because what you want to do is be open. You want to actually be open to like what people are telling you. And if your hypothesis is wrong, you want to get sent down a different pathway. That's really great. And then refine and adapt. Again, make adjustments as you go, because that is going to be super important. The reality is this, like, where we start and where we end is oftentimes miles apart, and that's okay. Be okay to adapt, to pivot if necessary. The journey is really beautiful in entrepreneurship. It's hairy, it's messy, it's ugly, lots of ugly tears, but it can be really joyous to like this process of learning and discovery. And so I really want you guys to think about, like, don't get stuck on the thing that you think it is. If you talk to a bunch of people and they tell you it's something completely different, be open to pivoting, because maybe you have that answer too.
Qiana,
Yes.
pardon the interruption. I put a screenshot of your slide that didn't load for you
Okay.
in the chat. If got a problem we're solving, in case you wanted to speak to that.
Okay. Where is that at? Let's see. Let's see down. Oh, this is really a cute one. Yeah, so where I started in the beginning is you want to build a product that your customers love and are willing to pay for. So it's like the fish, right? The fish have the little money, and then you've got the idea over here, and they are going in the direction of that. They're coming with their money towards your idea. You want to make sure that your validation is leading you directly to that. So I always say, yes, I'm an investor. I've invested millions at this point. But the reality is the first 10 years of my, tech career was in 2 bootstrapped companies, right? 2 bootstrap companies that had no outside capital. That second company, we got to 30 million in ARR with no venture dollars in the company. Was it hard? Yes, it was very, very hard. But the reality is that we figured out early on that we had a product that people were willing to pay for and that they loved, and they would do that and pay for that annually. It solved a problem. It made something really super easy for them, and we continued to grow. So I know a sort of anti-investor, your best investor will always be your paying customer. Really root yourself in that. Be systematic in how you approach your validation. Pay attention to past mistakes. Like sometimes it's not necessarily a mistake, but people were too early, too late, not identifying the right problem, those kinds of things. Be simple, don't overcomplicate it, but be critical as possible in early on in your journey, so that you can really hone in on where your customers, your paying customers, are going to come from. And that is super, super important. So we'll probably go into the breakout now, right, Caroline?
We have a few minutes for questions before we do that. I see Isel, you have your hand up.
Yes, yes. I had my hand up before the framework, so the framework slide kind of answered it, but yeah, thank you. I was wondering, as an engineer, I sometimes find myself in the technical detail loop, whereas there are 4 other steps that I should be making sure of before developing my hypothesis. So I was just wondering if you can talk more on like what exactly has to be done before even the landing page in terms of the tech stack perspective, the product development perspective. Do we have to have some sort of a prototype? Because I personally find this is a little blocking thing for me. Like I have to have it. I have to have the solid, something to show. So if you don't mind speaking to that, it will really help. Thank you.
I don't mind that at all. And I really, really appreciate your vulnerability. Say, hey, I'm an engineer. I get stuck. I get in the weeds about like building the thing. And a lot of us have been there. I think I want to solve your problem of going too far in building out the tech stack, right? And not actually identifying the real problem that you're trying to solve for, right? And so a lot of times, yes, you could have an MVP. Notice how I didn't talk about an MVP. I didn't talk about a minimal viable product or anything like that. In this sort of scenario is like a lot of people haven't built anything at all because they're still trying to figure out, is the problem that I think is there, which I've had before, a few of my friends have had before, exists, but is it big enough to like warrant me building out this product, right? And so the thing is that like, can you pause right now building the thing, right? And make sure that you've accurately defined the problem, that you have the hypothesis, that you've talked to enough people. Now, let's say you've done that informally, and that's why you're building, right? That's fine too, right? Let's say that you spent 20 years as a CTO leading and you always ran into that problem over and over. So I would say in that scenario, you've been building this, you've essentially been your customer, right? And you've talked to like 100 of your co-CTOs in the world who also solve the problem the way that you've been solving it for. So maybe you don't have to like write out all of these things. You don't have to do the 100 surveys, because you trust that like every conference you go to, you talk to other engineers who say, geez, I have that same problem. And we go, well, how did you solve that problem? Well, what do you do? And they say, well, we go to GitLab or we go to GitHub and then we pull this down and then we do that and da, 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 da. So maybe you've done a lot of, over the 20 years, you've essentially done a lot of the market validation informally. So that's why you're building this thing, because you know. I think if that's the case, then I would say, okay, go for it, right? But if you're still like, well, maybe though, I still should like figure these things out. It's not too late to still ask these questions. Now you want to go back to your other CTO friends and say, if I solve this problem, right? Would you pay for it? Because like people can say, I have this problem, but they're not necessarily willing to pay for it, because the way in which they're solving for it might be, you know, cumbersome, or not cumbersome, but it might be annoying, but it's something that they're willing to do because they're not willing to pay a company $5,000 a year for annually. They just think like, yeah, it's annoying to have to set this thing up, you know, and spend, you know, a day on to do, but it's not worth taking $5,000 out of my budget every month to solve that thing, because it only takes someone half a day to do. So again, like you might identify, hey, this is a problem. People agree with me, and lots of people, but maybe people aren't willing to pay for it either. So I think if you can pause and go, hey, now I'm talking to 100, 200 people, and they all say, yep, I would be willing to pay between $1,000 and $500 to do that. Then you go, okay, well, is this worth me building? Can I build a business? How many customers would I need in order to like make this business like work, in terms of who would maintain this, how many team members I have to have, and based on what people are willing to pay for it, does it make sense to actually build a business for it? So I think that like you can, even at this juncture, still get surveys. You can figure out what people are willing to pay for it. You can, you know, refine and adapt, and maybe even get an opportunity to see what more you can build. Maybe you're just at the tip of the iceberg and there's really a deeper problem that you could discover if you talk to a bunch of other people.
And I know we have other hands up, but we do need to get into the breakout rooms. And thank you, Ushul. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name. I wanted to make sure I got that right. Appreciate your question and your vulnerability. But yes, go ahead, Devon. Did you want to initiate the breakouts? And actually, before we do that, Qiana, would you like to just give a quick overview of what you want everyone to do in the breakout? And I can do my screen share to show the image that you want us to talk through.
Yeah, so I just gave you a lot of information. I realize that and recognize that. And that's why you guys are going to have the deck. We'll have one-on-one sessions as well. When you go to the breakout, what I want you to do is, of these top reasons that startups fail, look, no market need. They ran out of cash, not the right team, got outcompeted. If you can understand based on the questions and the market validation questions, is that you can identify what pitfall do you want to avoid, and what are the next steps that you need to take in order to avoid, you know, ignoring my customers, or the product missed the timing. So really is figuring out where you are without, I know that people are sometimes sensitive about their ideas, their business, and they don't want to share too much, but I really want you guys to use the next 15 minutes with your facilitator to figure out where, based on this framework, where should I be putting most of my effort in so I can avoid one of these startup top reasons of startups fail early on, and remember, in the first year.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Qiana. Okay, Devon, you want to launch our breakouts?
All right, breakout room time. If you do not know where your breakout room is, stick with me. Everyone else, we are live. See you all in 15 minutes. Do you know how to get to your breakout room? How about, oh, okay. All right.
I think it jumped for me. Devon, it like jumped up, joined a breakout room, and then it went away.
Okay.
But
I don't
I
see
didn't
an
see
option
it.
to join anything. Oh, hit breakout rooms down in the little boxes at the bottom.
oh, okay, yes, I see.
And if you're number 8, you're with Melissa.
And I'm 2.
And I'm going to Shashi 1, right? That they're in that order, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still not seeing the box actually down below.
Hold on a second. Mark.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. I was just sending you there.
Devin,
Good.
I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be if that email came through before I got on the email list.
Devon, yeah, so
I'm sorry.
let me see. Company again?
Teeny Scientific. Kim Martini is my co-founder.
Oh, okay, 1 second. I know I had a few people.
And Devon, I don't see group 2 to join in the list.
1 second.
Okay.
Caroline. 7 people are in your group right now. Let me,
They're waiting for me.
yeah, let me send you there.
Okay, thank you, Devon.
You got- All right. I am, who else? We have a bunch of people here. Wait,
Devon, this is Jade.
okay. 1 second, 1 second. Hold on. Let me put you here.
Devon, likely I should be with Jonathan if you know his group.
Yep.
That was the group.
You said Jade, right?
Yep.
Where are you on my list here? There you go.
Yeah,
And
I
then
don't know.
Yvonne, who were you with before?
7.
Okay, you were with 7, right? Okay. Let me see. You're with 7, so we're gonna put you here. There you go. Everyone, give me a second. I'm taking people to where they can be. Maybe. Who were you with before, Virginia?
So Kim Martini, my co-founder, came to the last meeting because I couldn't make it. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Let me put you here. I think this will be a good place.
Thank you.
I'll figure it out. There you go. All right, I just sent you to Mark. There you go. All right, we got Christopher. Christopher, you remember what breakout room you're in?
I wasn't in one last time.
Okay, company name?
Rose City Motion.
All right, Rose City Motion. We're gonna put you. I'll put you here. All right, I think that's everyone.
I'm still here too. Tracy Chow.
Oh, hey, Tracy. Sorry. I did not forget about you. All right. All right. Company name again?
Adamas Salons.
Okay. 1 sentence. Explain your company.
My company.
Yes.
It's beauty tech, so salon
Oh,
management.
there we go. Yep. I know where you're going. You're going with the great Paula.
I was with Paula last time.
Oh, and then that's
and
when
then
you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Let me see. Tracy, where did I put? Oh, yeah, reassign. Okay. See, Paula, she's the beauty queen in our
I know.
All right, let me see. Let me see. How about, do you do online? You do online sales, right? Clearly.
It kind of, not really.
Okay. How do you, what product?
It would be B2B, and it would be subscription based model.
There we go. Okay, I know where to put you. B2B. You want to be here with Lindsay. There you go. All right. Somebody said their mic isn't working. Let me see. My mic isn't working. This is Terry. I need to go to breakout room 8. Yep, I got you. Terry, breakout room 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. I'm sure the breakout rooms were exciting. For those who were with me,
those glasses.
hey, Sierra, look, this I'm my chakra, my making sure my wellness. This makes me feel good right here. All right, look, for those who were with me in the beginning, please remember your breakout rooms. I'm going to try to remember as much as I can. There's a lot of moving parts here, but help me, help you, help us be better.
I like that.
You like that? Yeah,
I might steal that from you.
yeah.
I might steal that.
You gotta have the shades and still that though.
Yeah.
When I put these shades on, it brings just something out of me. All right, let's see. Who else we got here?
So fun. And Devon, if there is time for a report out, Jarek from my group was going to give a quick sort of summary overview of the whole group, just generally.
We looking at the time. We do have quick. Let me make sure everybody back though. Everyone's
okay.
I have a bias, Caroline, to Jarek, just FYI.
All right, tell me more. Tell me more.
Because I've heard his pitch a couple of times.
Oh, thanks for sharing that bias. That's good to know.
And I have made one investment in is it just one? I've made an investment in an Oregon founder.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I've heard Jarek pitch as well.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about me, but
No.
overall,
I'm just happy that you're here, man.
No,
okay.
exactly. I'm happy that you're here, and I know you've done some validation, which is why I'm saying I have a bias because I feel like you've done some really good market validation. You're still working on it, but yes, it's
Glad
exciting.
to tears.
Aren't we all? Well, Jarek, why don't you go ahead and give a summary of what we heard from our group, and then we'll move towards conclusion. Thanks for doing this, by the way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have an amazing group, a bunch of awesome founders, great people with some really deep insights. Market tends to be kind of the one that's coming up the most, I would say, is like trying to figure out, they've more or less validated that there's a problem, but how exactly to attack that problem seems to be like the common theme. Obviously, money was another one, and me personally, product. And another group was pricing. So definitely within that top 5 or 6 core reasons, why startups fail are what our group largely seems to be focused on.
Awesome. Thanks, Jarek, and thanks for doing a good summary and listening well enough to be able to make that summary. That's fantastic. We have a few slides for conclusion. And Qiana, did you want to talk about your open mentor hour that's coming up on Tuesday?
I'm excited. Come with lots of questions. Yeah, and if Caroline, if you want, one, I think that it's only an hour, right? And everyone gets to come, right? Is that correct?
Correct. It's open to anyone, including cohort facilitators.
Got it. So 2 things that I'll say that I'll do is in that session, what I'll provide, so tempt you all to come, is I will provide my Calendly link. So each of you can, if you'd like to do a 30-minute one-on-one with me, I'll offer that up as well for the cohort. And 2, and maybe I'll do this, if you have questions or things that you want me to attack early on in the conversation, I'll put my email in. Is that okay, Caroline? So that people can.
Absolutely wonderful. And I know there's folks in our group that we're going to take you up on that for sure. That's extremely generous of you. I think we need to do like a whole round of applause for Qiana on her amazing talk and her willingness to open up her calendar for 30 minutes for such a large cohort. There's 79 entrepreneurs. So thank you for that. That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's important because I feel like it's just not enough time, and I want to make sure that you all get as much time as possible. And like I said, I really believe that you guys all belong here, that your ideas have merit, there's validity in what you're building, and I want to pour into as many PNW founders as possible because it's my way to like reconnect with the ecosystem there.
Thank you so much, Qiana. You're awesome. Devon, did you want to talk about the next session next week?
Yes, I do. Next week, we have customer discovery and personas with Jill Nelson, former CEO, Ruby receptionist. She exited. Who's familiar with Ruby receptionist? Anybody familiar with that? Yeah. I told you all we were going to bring some heavy hitters to this tech accelerator. All right. So next week we have Jill. Please be sure to join us next week. If you can't, we understand. But remember, to graduate, you need 7 out of 10. So try to make the sessions count. But also we have the recordings, remember, within our shared drive. I'm going to share that link again just because it's good to keep sharing the link. But share the link, save the link. We will have Qiana's recording today. We will have her deck. We will have information, her homework. So please, her slides. So please make sure you save that link. Qiana, thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure speaking with you on and off, camera, and just to have you here within our accelerator to share your knowledge with our entrepreneurs and including myself is always a delight. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. I'm so glad I could come.
All right.
And no homework from Qiana. The homework would be attend her mentor session and use her Calendly link. that would be the way to go there.
Come to the session and get the Calendly link. Exactly.
That's right. That's the homework. And then we're doing a special session that I'll be leading. It's out of the normal Thursday schedule. It's on the 30th it's an hour and a half where I'll be sharing the techniques I use to raise $1 million in capital and then helped other founders raise multiple millions. And then I've seen probably 500 pitches or so in my day. I'm an investor. I have invested in 22 startups. Most of the startups are tech. There's some consumer product, and most of them are led by women and BIPOC founders. So I will share the techniques on how to pitch and get funded and basically how to do it in 10 minutes. So you should be able to communicate your value proposition in 10 minutes. And then if the investors are interested, and they're asking a lot of great questions, that's wonderful. So that calendar invite just went out. So hopefully it's not required. If you guys want to attend that session, we realize it's out of the normal scope, but we wanted to make sure through the application forms, we know that many of you still haven't developed your pitch decks or you're enhancing your pitch decks. And then of course, Devon and I at the end are going to be working to determine with the cohort facilitators, which of you are fund ready to be referred over to Portland Seed Fund. And so my talk will be sharing how to get your pitch deck developed in how PSF wants to see it, and not only PSF, but other investors. So it'll be a good one to attend.
Yes.
And Devon, did you want to talk about, this is just sort of the great lineup of speakers that we have coming up.
Yeah, so really quick, I mean, we heard from the amazing Qiana today. Sierra kind of brought us into our wellness and our peace of mind. Next, we have Jill. But here are some, I mean, you can see some of your cohort facilitators on here. You got Paul on here. Corey, you're not going to want to miss that. Rosemary, she does great work. And then you have me. You're going to have me for one of the, and we're going to talk about branding. So mine is going to be fun. I mean, as you can see, I'm always on brand. But I'm looking forward to having everyone in the next session. But really quick, I want everyone to get a mental photo screenshot, write it down. This is very important because I want you all to graduate. You must attend 7 out of 10 sessions, attend at least half of the open mentor hours. So we have 1, 2, 3. I think we have 8 mentor hours. I think we have 8. So 4 at least half of the homework. I did receive some homework from people. Thank you so much. I did receive some messages from people about homework. I just want to clarify things on homework one more time. So for homework, please send your homework to your cohort facilitator, and then Caroline and I will be looking at your homework. Now, it's going to be our eyes. We're not going to share it out on LinkedIn. We're not going to talk about it on the podcast feature, none of that stuff. But we do want to engage with you all. We do want to support you in any way that we can. And sometimes we need to see where you're coming from, right? In order to best serve you, we need to understand where you are in your journey and how we could be of service to you. So I just wanted to let you know, homework, please, 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 do the homework. Is for you. It's for you to apply it to your, is it for you to apply it to what you have going on today? And we will look at it and we'll help you get to where you need to get to. Or as I said in the first week, the promised lands. Okay. Those who are fund ready will be recommended to Portland Seed Fund. I used to be a principal at Portland Seed Fund. Shashish is a principal at Portland Seed Fund currently. So we know a thing or two about the Portland Seed Fund family. And we would like to recommend as many founders as we can. So please, please, please meet the graduation qualifications. And that's all I have. How was the session today? Let's get some reactions. How was the reactions today? All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible. And I did see some other questions come through. Yes, attending my session will count as one of the the 4 open mentor sessions. Qiana, we want to give another final shout out if we were all in a room and we could like clap or whatever, but just sending lots of love to you and appreciate your generosity and sharing your insights with us. Looking forward to your open mentor session. I wish everyone a great afternoon. If you want to hang back at all, and if anybody has any questions and they want to hang back, I'll stay on for another 5 minutes or so. But otherwise, have a great day. See you all soon.
See ya. I'm going to hang back too.
I had a quick question.
Go for it.
I didn't know how I could get the information for the cohort facilitator so I can send my homework to them, because I never got that email. Or
oh yeah, Chris, I still have to send you. Who was your cohort facilitator?
Today was, I believe, Melissa.
Melissa? Okay. I will get you Melissa information.
Is that the person we'll stick with throughout the entire process?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And Chris, good to see your face. We've only been emailing, so welcome to the group.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you guys. It's been amazing so far. And Qiana, great stuff today. So I think I enjoyed just being able to wrap my mind around a lot of the process, and just excited. So thanks.
Awesome. Really quick before I get to you, Jim, I see a hand raised. Qiana, I'm planning on doing a midway point extravaganza. So around
in Seattle or in Portland, where?
In both.
Oh.
I'm internationally known, so I got to go all over.
Can I be on the guest list?
Of course you can. Okay. You VIP.
Okay. Got it.
All right. But what city are you going to be in? That's the question.
I can be in both, because my brother and my nieces live in Portland and my other family still lives in Seattle. So, you just give me the dates that you're going to do it, and I'll try to make one of them.
Sounds great. Once I get the dates, I'll send it to everyone, and I'll send out VIP packages as well.
Perfect.
All right, Jim, what you got?
I got a question. We were talking about doing some surveys and interviewing. We're a very personal business about what we do. Is it better to try to sit down with somebody and do some quick questions and kind of interviewing, get feedback for potential customers? And if it's better to do that, is it better possibly do something like online through social media, trying to attract people to maybe answer some questions online? Both. Trying to do 100 surveys. It's like you're trying to capture 100 people to sit down and talk to them.
Both. Get to as many as you possibly can. And if you can get some in person, great. If you can get people to not give you time in person, but willing to do the survey online, do that too. So I think both will be very helpful. Yeah. Yeah.
I would maybe add to that. Qiana, you said some really powerful things during your talk. Getting to those key insights, I think, is the important thing. So numbers, just numbers, is not important. Getting to those key insights about the customers is super important.
Yeah.
Meredith?
Hi, quick administrative question. I don't think I'm getting the emails for the meeting notices. If I didn't receive anything for today and then I don't have anything for Caroline's special session either.
Can you put your email in the chat, Meredith?
Sure thing.
And sorry about that. Devon, if you add her to all the sessions, I'll add her to the, she probably needs to get added to that cohort list.
Okay, let me grab this here. You say
Thanks
you're
for
not getting you are getting the calendar invite though, right?
No,
No,
no.
okay. Don't worry, I'm gonna fix it right now. Let me see.
Actually, I have the same thing and put my email as well.
Okay.
All right, I just added you, Meredith, and someone said their email.
Was
Oh,
that
there we
Michelle?
Please notice, I dig a poet is
Yes.
from Gregory.
What was that, Gregory?
I submitted my email address to the chat.
Okay, you're also not getting them?
Well, I would just want to be sure, for example, that I get Caroline's session date and stuff.
Okay.
And yes, I did not get an indication of the meeting today. I just knew it was coming up.
Okay.
All right. I did add, I'm sorry, what is Birkin? How do you pronounce your first name? I'm sorry. I'm butchering this thing so bad.
Bushel like a bushel without the
Okay.
B.
First name.
ISIL.
Okay. I added your new email address to the calendar invite. So you should have
Perfect.
received all of the new invites.
Could you also
Okay.
add her to the add that email to the homework folder so she can use that one as well?
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
All
call.
right.
Thanks for letting us know, you guys.
Oh, Yvonne, where are you? Go for Stephanie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we're going to get chances to obviously frame our pitch and what, the seed fund's looking for, but also practice our pitch and get feedback from mentors. Is that built into the program? Because I've done 5 pitches over the last year and it never gets easier depending on the format, how many minutes you get, how many slides you get. The sooner I get to preview that, the sooner I can kind of start building the framework. I like to get a jump on these things because it never gets easier for founders and we never stop pitching. So just curious.
True, yes. So we didn't have it specifically baked in to do your practice pitches. We do have one session that is not scheduled right now. It's the one prior to graduation that is open that Devon and I talked about. Potentially that's what we could do, but clearly not everyone would have time to do their pitches. The cohort facilitators, their contract does not require them to listen to pitches outside of these sessions. You could ask. I will also, when I do my session, I will share a Calendly link and have limited slots that I will make available for people who want to do practice pitches with me. But again, I would make sure that you get the pitches down to 10 minutes so that we do have time to fit in some folks who are looking to pitch. And we would also ask that, because the nature of this accelerator is focused on tech and focused on raising capital, that it's the folks who are currently raising capital, because I know only 50% of the near 80 cohorts, so that's about 40 companies that are raising capital. So I would say let's limit it to those who are actively raising capital. And it doesn't mean that those who are not raising capital should not also create a pitch deck. But because of the large group, we need to prioritize those raising capital because that's what the US EDA funding is earmarked for. Does that make sense?
All the sense in the world. And just to kind of frame it a little bit deeper for my need is that I'm neurospicy and ADHD. And I'm
Okay.
asked to do a 99-second pitch, a 3-minute pitch, a 5-minute pitch. 10 minutes seems like an eternity. Like, and I tend to go far down a rabbit hole that sometimes I shouldn't. So even if it's a Slack channel and I could practice with my peers, I know a lot of people in this cohort, like Qiana, Andre, Jason. So even if it's just practicing with my peers, I would be forever grateful. So they can
Hey,
reel me
Stephanie,
in.
check the chat. You can set up some time with me. I'd be happy to do some pitch practice with you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joshi. That's awesome. And yes, it certainly doesn't have to be the full 10 minutes. If you can do it in a shorter amount of time, that's always good. And have supplemental slides for questions. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Stephanie.
Would I be able to get in on that pitch practice as an
Yeah,
option?
certainly. I'll put in the chat. I will say that my next 2 weeks are an absolute minefield. So I may turn down and suggest we push it out a little bit further. But yeah, you can schedule some time with me.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joshi. Vishal?
I want to confirm, like when we say funding ready, what exactly the checklist we should make sure we complete.
Yeah, great question. And that will be addressed not only in my session where I talk about these are the elements that need to be ready and polished enough to present to an investor. And then also we do have Angela Jackson from the Portland Seed Fund joining us. Which session is that? May something or other, I'm looking it up. May 2nd, Angela is joining and she's actually going to talk about what their fund, who they fund and what they're specifically looking for. And remember, this is through a partnership that we have with Portland Seed Fund with a EDA fund or EDA grant. And so it's a little bit different than some of their other funds. And then I know they also, actually, Shashi, can I talk about the GAP fund yet or no?
I think it's public knowledge. It just hasn't been announced yet.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and let Angela announce that. There could be some other buckets of funding depending on, you know, how deep your tech is and how wide it is. And if it's research based, there's different types of funding that could be available as well. Some non-dilutive funding, some equity funding. But good questions. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Caroline. As far as funding goes, I wanted to know how do I learn how to develop the budget for my startup? I understand what the tech costs are, but as far as other costs like marketing and product intro and all those other costs and who should be on the C team and what kind of levels they should be funded at. So when I do go to investors and they ask how much do we need, I need to have a solid budget that's in place and a format that's they're familiar with.
Yeah, good question, Dan.
And the other thing is I sent you an email that has a screen captures the 25 each for the participants.
Awesome. Thank you. I've been trying to my screen isn't large enough to capture a screenshot of the whole cohort. So we've got 2. Thanks for doing that, Dan. That's awesome. I'll make
You can
a
only
link.
get 25 at a time. So I sent 4 screenshots.
That's fine. That works.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that, Dan. Well, the April 18th session that I'm doing with Rosemary is going to be about forecasting. And the way that I do forecasting is actually through market sizing instead of the other way around, and how easy it is to do a forecast. It's more focused on the revenue side of things. And then Rosemary will talk more about on the expense side of things and also how to avoid the valley of death. And she's worked with a lot of companies and helped pull them out of that state. So again, we have an hour basically with you guys. It's an hour and a half, but basically, you know, we're giving some high level content here. So much of what would be drilled down specifically. And Dan, I know you and I know your company Tone Tip, which is awesome. You have some more unique things about what need to be included that other companies wouldn't, right? And then there's some rules out there, like just general rules of like, if you're a SaaS company and you're launching, you know, I've seen financial projections where it's like 8% of marketing goes to 8% of the budget goes to marketing. It's like, whoa, you're probably going to have to go upwards of 30-40%, right?
Mhm.
Especially
Yeah.
how crowded the market is. So there's some general rules of thumb around that, and Shashi
Yes.
will be able to help fill in some of those. So definitely book some time with him in the future.
Okay, that's
I was
exactly what I'm
gonna
looking
say,
for.
I was just helping a startup with this, and you may laugh at this, but I asked Copilot, what are the standards for this particular industry for a forecast? And it spit out numbers that I felt were pretty solid, pretty accurate.
Oh, good.
And you can balance, you can go and look at salaries on Glassdoor as well, for you find comparables. It's all quick and dirty here, and as long as you state what your assumptions are, you should be fine.
Yeah, salaries are part of it. Another part as well. Who do I need to have in place, and what's appropriate, and then what do potential investors say? Okay, you've got the right people on the team and the right kind of salaries, and I don't want to come up with something say, oh, you're
Yeah.
missing these two parts.
One piece of advice, if you're super early, that I have is the exploration team doesn't have to be the same as the execution team.
Right.
So
Mhm.
your execution team once you've found product market fit, you may have needs for a whole different set of folks. You'll be rearranging folks in different positions and whatnot. But think of who are you going to hire first to get the first dollar in fastest.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if this is like real basic stuff, but the number of times
No,
I've seen people
I've
come in
heard
without
that
this
before.
information.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. I do have to hop off,
Yep.
but I appreciate you guys hanging back, and have a great week. And we'll see you next week for Qiana's mentor hour, and then on Thursday for the next session.
Amazing.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Sounds great. Thank you.